Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class, and welcome back to the Nerd Academy podcast, your source for nerddom news and commentary. I am your host and superior webhead master, Jarod Bachman-Stubbs. This is episode 66. It is early. Well, it's early for us. It's 9:30 in the morning. We don't normally record this show day of and in the morning, but here we are. And I'm joined by the one and only your resident Green Lantern, Professor Travis Grossman.
This is the earliest I've been awake in months.
I don't like it either. As you can see, we have the Green Lantern whose go-to construct is, in fact, a grill.
It's true.
For not being a morning person, you still you look as put together as you normally do. Like the hair's looking good.
Says a lot about me, doesn't it?
That's not what I meant, you douchebag. I was saying that you look good, asshole. Anyway, we're going to jump into the show here. Starting with, we got 2 rounds of trailer talk. We got 2 Marvel trailers this week, ladies and germs. We got the trailer for Loki, which we're going to talk about first.
We got like 1.5 trailers.
Fair. The half trailer being the half new footage we got for Black Widow.
All 8 seconds of new footage, none of which like added anything. They're just like continuations of scenes we knew about.
I will say, we did see like whoever Taskmaster's boss is for the first time. And I am already calling that like my favorite shot of the movie is going to be Red Guardian standing in front of the mirror flexing. There's just something just so, I don't know. Red Guardian's already my favorite character in that movie. And I don't know if it's maybe because this is the second heavy set superhero Marvel's giving us that like I can feasibly accurately cosplay Red Guardian with a little bit of a beer belly in the costume or not, but Loki talk first. Travis, how'd you feel about the Loki trailer?
It was all right. Seemed decent. We talked about it in our group chat, but we predicted a plot of Marvel Entity for the wrong Marvel Entity.
Yes. I will say I like the whole idea that now that the multiverse in a timeline sense is open, I like the idea that like I like the whole concept of the alternate reality versions of people being referred to as variants. Like I like the way that they like this Loki variant and how he has like variant written on his jumpsuit. Mm-hmm. There's just something that's just so perfectly ridiculous sci-fi about it that it makes me very happy. And I like to see that kind of shit. How do you feel about the theories about the alleged expected Black Widow cameo?
I
like,
barely saw them. I only half paid attention to the trailer yesterday. With both of the trailers, I was like, there's no way they're going to put anything we didn't already see in the first one.
That's fair. That's fair.
They gave us more in the Loki trailer. Like now we have a general idea of what the plot's going to be like, but as we've seen from their past 2 shows, that actually means nothing.
Yeah, honestly. It's good. These trailers have been really good at the vibe.
Yeah,
more
like,
so than what it's actually
showing. Feel like, and you will figure out the plot as you go because we're not telling you shit.
Which I like. There have been too many Marvel trailers that kind of give away give the house away, you know. looking at you, both Spider-Man movies. But
I mean, that doesn't really count. That's Sony's fault.
yeah, that's Sony's fault. 100. Yeah, Sony's on the marketing. But still, I really did like the Loki trailer. This was the moment that took me from it's a Marvel show. I like Loki. I'm going to enjoy this. It took me from there to, oh shit, I'm excited. Right? Because up to this point, because I'm trying to in my brain map out how we're going to be handling all the Disney Plus shows. And in my brain, I'm going, okay, so it's going to go WandaVision is going to dominate TNAP. Then Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to dominate TNAP. Then Bad Batch is just going to own Knights of the Nerd Republic. Do we get a break? No, it's Loki. Shit, I keep forgetting about Loki. I will not forget about Loki again. I am very, very intrigued by this trailer. I just really like this tone. I like how they're selling us on the show as opposed to the way they talked about it in pre-production. Because a lot of it felt like this is going to be a Doctor Who, only Loki isn't there to observe and help. He's kind of there to fuck shit up. And I was
in reality, he is
lukewarm
there
on
to
that.
observe and help.
Yeah, and I like that they're leaning into just I like that Loki is being forced into being a government agent. I like that it feels like the conceit going forward with the show is the timer running down to when Loki tries to double cross somebody. So I really, really am intrigued by this show. To address the Black Widow rumors, I don't think we're going to see him talking to a variant Natasha on Vormir. I don't think that's where the show is going. At least I kind of hope not. I don't necessarily need that. I mean, it could be if the show really leans into this being a second chance for this Loki, and maybe he learns about the mainline MCU Loki sacrifice and the story he lived through, and we get a moment where this Loki gets to have a one-on-one with Natasha in the wake of because for him this is right after he would have had his too much red in your ledger speech. I think it would be interesting if the arc of this show is to give us a redeemed Loki who can then kind of fill in the spot for the one that was killed by Thanos. I don't need that, but if it's executed well, I think I'll enjoy it, but I don't think that's what's happening here.
Before this trailer, that was my guess for this show, is that this was going to be our fill-in to get Tom Hiddleston into Thor: Love and Thunder. Just because, between... Again, this is back when we thought WandaVision was going to rip a hole in the multiverse.
Yeah.
But back, it made sense to me that if this is happening in a different timeline, then at the end of it, maybe he finds the hole and is like, oh, I'm going back to main shit now, bye, and ends up in the main timeline. Which might happen anyway, because now we know that he's the one that broke everything, so...
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I really dig the fact that we're getting another visual representation of explaining the endgame time travel. The way that there's that little branch reality thing going on, just because I still think I still think there's a lot of people who aren't 100% clear on how endgame time travel works.
Because they explained it so bad. They explained it in a way where if you thought about it, it hurt your head. Therefore, no one would want to think about it and catch any loopholes.
Fair. I know when he just basically said alternate realities, I in the theater went, "Oh, Dragon Ball, cool."
Yeah.
I like this type of time travel. It makes
sense till it
shenanigans
doesn't
easier.
anymore.
It makes sense till it doesn't anymore, but it's also a more cohesive version of time travel to use in a comic book setting. because that makes the type of multiversal comic book bullshit shenanigans a lot easier to manage. For the Black Widow trailer, we discussed Black Widow's new release day last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just making sure we had that on. Okay. So we already know about that. We got a trailer to kind of codify all that and, put it out there in the open. Like Travis said, not a whole lot of new footage. There was some, but nothing really major. Red Guardian's going to be my favorite character in this movie. I already love David Harbour. So these girls are the strongest girls in the world. Yes. I love him. I love him already. I want to give him a big old hug. Any more trailer talk thoughts, Travis?
I just hope Black Widow is above mid tier for its sake.
Right? I thought I was going crazy. Where there's a part of me that feels like almost every pandemic era movie has had a lukewarm reception. Even movies you feel like shouldn't have had one. I don't understand why people weren't super into Tenet. And there's just something about, I don't know. I just feel like the pandemic era has not been kind to a lot of movies that would have done better otherwise.
I think because this is our one movie we get and it isn't perfect. And it's a reminder that movies aren't perfect ever. So then you're this was a pain in the ass to go see because I had to book my ticket a month in advance or my theater was super socially distant, whatever. And I didn't enjoy everything about it. Well, that's going to upset me even more. Or in this case, I paid $30.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
No. I'm agreeing with you and I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
No, you're fine. I was rambling.
I think it would also be weird because, I don't know. The MCU discourse is in an interesting place now where, at least from what I'm seeing on the interwebs, on Marvel Twitter and Marvel TikTok and shit like that, this is the highest point I can remember where there are a large amount of Marvel fans who are not thrilled with the MCU. I cannot remember a time period where Marvel fans have been as critical of the MCU, and for good reason. That's talking about the whitewashing with WandaVision and, actually addressing the fact that stuff like Falcon and the Winter Soldier can tend to be a little propagandistic, which is fair, valid, stuff like that. And there's legitimate criticisms discussing whether or not Endgame had fulfilling character arcs for certain characters, stuff like that. At this zenith of MCU criticism, at least that I've seen, coming from people who actually do like Marvel stuff. It's not the Snyder cult. It's not, your Todd Phillips or Scorsese's who are just taking pot shots at Marvel because it's popular. I wonder if a movie that does not come at the normal level of Marvel movie could hurt the MCU at this point. Could Black Widow?
I don't think it'll do anything too bad. It'll come out. People will go, "This wasn't great. This was Ant-Man tier." I personally really like Ant-Man, but in terms of or Ant-Man and the Wasp tier of this was an okay watch in the movie theater, but I don't need to go see it again. I don't need to own it. I don't I saw it and that was enough.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be Thor: The Dark World, which I still have not seen in its entirety since I saw it in theaters, and I have tried. It certainly won't be Iron Man 2, which I adore. I've reached the point in the cycle where I ironically liked it and now I unironically really like it.
Hey, at least you're not. At least you didn't go through the "it was better than Avengers" phase that I did with BVS. So
I mean, that's
You're able
true.
to skip like the really embarrassing one of like, this is a misunderstood masterpiece to like, it's bad. I like it. This is my trash baby. Leave me alone.
It's only because of how many times, because like it's the only one that gets played on cable all the time. Like if you flip to TNT, USA, or like any in that realm of cable networks, that one of them is playing Iron Man 2 at any given time.
now they're playing the shit out of Avengers Endgame, which to me just screams we need to fill our time slots. So
Yeah,
let's
we
do
need-
like a 4-hour version of a 3-hour movie thanks to commercials.
Yeah. But yeah, as long as this isn't like Thor: The Dark World bad, and not Thor: The Dark World is just really boring, so I
Hot
think we'll be
take.
fine.
I think Thor: The Dark World is a stronger film than the first Thor. I enjoy it a lot more than the first Thor, like significantly more.
I do. I enjoyed the first Thor because of the novelty of it, and I think
Yeah.
Dark World would be better if it had more. Not necessarily it needs more quippy jokes, but everyone's taking what's happening too seriously, and it needs to just calm down. Because what happens is everyone's super tense, and then no one knows what's going on, and then you wake up and it's the end of the movie because you fall asleep because you're so bored.
I mean, I get that. I understand that criticism completely. It just does not bother me. And like, again, Thor: The Dark World, like at worst is a C minus.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So like that's
it's a C minus and a C of like C pluses to A's. Like
yeah.
it just happens to be the most mediocre.
Yeah. And again, the fact that a movie like Thor: The Dark World, again, you got to remember superhero movies still like kind of in their adolescent phase by the time we get to Thor: The Dark World. And most of that growing only happened because the growth cycle was expedited by the Avengers. Superhero cinema, the fact that the worst entry in this franchise is just aggressively mediocre. I think
it led to arguably one of the best. Even the best.
Okay, while we're talking about MCU movies, I had this conversation the other day on the interwebs, and maybe I'm the idiot. Okay, I will say that up front. Maybe I'm the moron who doesn't get it. Is Captain America: The Winter Soldier mildly overrated? I don't get it's the best MCU movie. Like, and maybe it's just because like my grading for the MCU stuff always falls back on like source material shit.
Mm-hmm.
So me being you all right? Me being I love me like a big dumbass comic book event, massive crossover type bullshit. That being my favorite type of comic book content, I don't understand. It can't not be Infinity War and Endgame.
Okay. Yeah.
You all right? That seemed like a wrong pipe situation.
Oh, I absolutely breathed in Mountain Dew. Yes. Ooh, that was bad. All right. But yeah, no. I think it's because it's the reverse. Winter Soldier is the most regular movie in the MCU. Like, if you took away the fact that Steve Rogers is Captain America, right? And Falcon's wings were just some random ass CIA project. And like you explained in a flashback that Steve was a super soldier, right? Then you could take away all the comic book from that movie and just have it be about a rogue government agency trying to, that's actually infested with Nazis. And it's just a spy movie.
Yeah.
And I think people,
makes sense.
especially when it came out, when the whole point of the MCU was like it's more grounded comic book stories, people really enjoyed that. and it's just well made, right? Like
It's a phenomenal movie. Don't get me wrong. I love Winter Soldier. I think it is like
it's
if you
also
were to
I
ask
think
me.
I think it's also the only sequel, especially in like the original set of characters, that's better than its original. And I love First Avenger, but like I mean, I love Iron Man 2, but it is not as good as Iron Man 1. We disagree on Thor: The Dark World, but in general, I think Dark World is just not as good of an experience as Thor.
That's fair. I get that. No, you're right. You're right though. Like, I even though I enjoy it more, the spectacle of Asgard is incredible, and the way that it's shot. Like, I know people make fun of like Kenneth Branagh with like the Dutch angles and the. I think it works for the Thor movie. I think it works having like the weird Shakespearean dialogue and everything. Now you're gonna try to pitch me on Soap and Pet a Little Tiger.
No, actually.
I have plot. Are you gonna do the rest of the show with this like really disorienting Dutch angle?
No, because it's gonna make me sick.
Okay, thank you. But yeah, no, I think like if you the Winter Soldier is definitely in like the upper quartile of Marvel movies. Like, there's no question about that. For me, it just feels like mildly overrated, but that's just me.
It is. I mean, like some of the action scenes are kind of choppy. Not choppy isn't like bad, but like they do sometimes the like quick cuts so you can't see what's happening. That's really the only complaint I can think of. Also, like in general, the Russo brothers movies tend to like be slightly dialed back on the color.
Yeah, that's not a thing I love.
But I think especially in the wake of Endgame and Infinity War, you can't say that Winter Soldier is the best. But like especially during Phase 2, when it came out, I think there's an argument to be made then.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Yeah. I can see that. Moving on to our next story, kind of a disappointing one that will dovetail into some other conversation here. Ava DuVernay's New Gods and James Wan's The Trench DC movies not moving forward at Warner Brothers. This is an exclusive from The Hollywood Reporter. Warner Brothers and DC Films' upcoming slate is moving forward without Ava DuVernay's New Gods and James Wan's Aquaman spinoff, The Trench. Quote, as part of our DC slate, some legacy development titles, including New Gods and The Trench, will not be moving forward, Warner Brothers and DC said in a statement. We thank our partners, Ava DuVernay, Tom King, James Wan, and Peter Safran, for their time and collaboration during the process, and look forward to our continued partnership with them on other DC stories. The project will remain in their skillful hands if they were to move forward in the future. So, I have mixed opinions on this. I did not give a shit about having a Trench movie. I'm upset that I'm like, anytime a director or a creative of any type does not get to make their thing, regardless of who it is, that sucks.
Yeah.
It sucked when it happened to Snyder. It sucks now that Ava DuVernay and James Wan don't get to make this thing they were excited for. Granted, James Wan still has Aquaman 2. And whatever the Aquaman sequels in that pocket of the universe does, hopefully stays with Wan. Seems like it is. However, I was looking forward to New Gods.
You were probably the only person.
I may have been, but
that's not me trying to dismiss it, but like, because it does suck. Like, it really sucks for her. But at the same time, I don't know how New Gods got greenlit in the first place. Like I want to know what kind of drugs everyone in that staff room was on that a movie about these DC characters that nobody's ever heard of got greenlit.
I think New Gods could have, like, I don't want to say like ride the hype of the Snyder Cut, because like I don't want to short sell whatever Ava DuVernay could have done with it, but I feel like,
but I think
just based on
it got greenlit before the Snyder Cut was even like a thing. Right?
You're right. I'm saying now, like, there's the marketing opportunity to subvert that issue of like, well, who the hell are these people? It's like, well, here are all the people who are related to Darkseid, and like letting Darkseid be a part of that story. Like, I like that's good for marketing at this point, because people really like Darkseid in the Snyder Cut. They were intimidated by him, and the scenes with him were cool as shit. And I don't know. This is really disappointing. The fact that, like,
I think it's burned up too much. Not that I don't know how much money has been used up in any kind of like creative process for these movies, but like I'm sure at this point they've been in production for too long that like there was no point.
well, I'm 99% sure we covered the announcements of at least both of these back during the days of Hall of Heroes. Like, you let that be a little indicator.
New Gods might have been like beginning of TNAP. I don't remember. Like, it's been at least a year.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't remember covering Trench. Like, I didn't know that existed. But yeah, I don't know how this got greenlit to be made in the first place, and I'm sad for the people that were working on it. I'm not sad because I like wanted to see it.
Yeah, and I get that. And I do think something like Trench felt like a very opportunistic, people like Ant-Man. What's the first thing we can, or Ant-Man, Aquaman related thing we can pump out? And it was not something I was incredibly interested in. I don't know what you do with the Trench movie. New Gods was different. It felt bold. It felt like the kind of way that, not to keep comparing Marvel and DC, but it felt
Guardians
like
of
that
the
kind of
Galaxy.
like, exactly that, like, who, like, again, even hardcore comic book people are hard pressed to tell you who the shit the Guardians of the Galaxy were at the time, right? And I kind of like the idea that like WB was going to just kind of put their balls on the table. And it's like, there's no S on anybody's chest. There's no bat or clown related characters. Wonder Woman's big right now. Fuck that. Like, they were like, we are not going to bank this on the like tangential popularity of any other character. We're going with the New Gods and just letting this be its own thing.
I think the difference is Marvel had the cultural capital at the time to make that jump. Especially because of how much they had to gain from it. Like, you get a good Guardians. Look what happened. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy did so well, they ended up producing like 4 like simultaneously running Guardians books for comics, right?
Yeah.
So like, and like, if it messed up, oh no, you just don't make another Guardians movie and keep them in the MCU because you need space people. So like,
yeah,
they had so much to gain and not a lot to lose, versus New Gods is just going to be dead in the water when it comes out, when it would come out.
Yeah, like, I can't say that you're wrong. I would want you to be wrong, but I don't think that you are. But yeah, there's that. Travis, would you like to give us the next story?
We have new Batman actors for Long Halloween Part 1.
Which has also been slapped with an R rating.
Neat.
Yes.
Our new Jensen Ackles has leveled up from brooding Robin to brooding Batman. Jensen
You love to
Ackles will
see
be
it.
playing Bruce Wayne, aka the Batman. Which I think is a good casting. I think he's matured enough now that his voice will sound good as a Batman.
I agree.
Among the voice cast, we have Naya Rivera, the late Glee star, as Selena Kyle. She apparently had finished her work before she passed away. The Mountain Dew that's still in my throat will be playing the Riddler.
I was saying,
On
do you want
account
me
of
to
the
go
fact that
from
it
here
is
if
green.
you're like your throat's messing with you?
No, I got it.
Okay.
Josh Duhamel will be playing Harvey Dent. Billy Burke will be playing James Gordon. Titus Welliver will be playing Carmine Falcone. David Dismouchin will be playing Calendar Man. Troy Baker's coming back as Joker. Yay. Amy Landecker will be playing Barbara Gordon. Julie Nathanson will be playing Gilda Dent. Jack Quaid will be playing Alberto. Fred Tatasciore?
Sure.
Fred Tatasciore will be playing Solomon Grundy. And Alistair Duncan will be playing Alfred. Other voice work was performed by Francis Callier, Greg Chun, Gary Leroy Gray, and Jim Peary.
Very excited for this. I like Jensen Ackles as Batman. I think that's an interesting pick. Exactly what you said.
I forgot that Man of Tomorrow was written by a Tim Sheridan. But the director and writer for Man of Tomorrow are working on this. So
I like that. I like that a lot. Hopefully they become a shared universe.
I don't want them to.
You don't want them to?
I don't want them to at all. I want just one. I want one Batman comic made into a good animated movie. I don't want them to Killing Joke this. I don't want them to Hush this. I'm trying to think of any other ones. I can't. They've only tried those two and they fucked them up royally. I want this
Dark
to be
Knight
good.
Returns was good.
Okay, Dark Knight Returns was good. But I want one that I like. I mean, I like Dark Knight Returns, but you know.
It's okay. It's fashy Batman, so it's fun to make fun of it. But yeah, very excited for this. I had no clue. I was stunned seeing that apparently Naya Rivera was in this. Yeah, you get a lump in your chest thinking about it. It's a very, very upsetting situation with all of that. But yeah, very much looking forward to this. Already, I mean, it's cool seeing Long Halloween. And you said exactly what I was thinking with the Batman casting, that I think that his voice and demeanor has matured enough that I think he's a good pick for Bruce. With that, we are out of news. So we're going to talk Falcon and the Winter Soldier today. Travis, how'd you enjoy this week's episode?
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like standard.
Isn't it
it's
weird?
Marvel, it's going to be good.
Isn't it weird to think that we're halfway done with this show already?
So there's only 6 episodes?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense because they've been longer.
Oh, yeah.
All of them have clocked in at around 40 to 50 minutes. 1 sec.
But yeah, this is a 6-episode run. Like you said, obviously they're longer episodes to make up for the shorter episode count. But yeah, it keeps weirding me out that I feel like we have like more of a long game to get through. And I'm like, no, we are halfway done with this show already.
I didn't realize that. But I like that because it means that the story's going to be a little. I like these condensed stories. I liked it with WandaVision that each episode wasn't, an hour long.
Yeah.
To like extend the story where it didn't need to be, and also they needed to do that to save on effects because Vision.
Yeah.
But this, like especially this episode, there weren't really any special effects to do. It was just fight stuff.
Yeah. It's funny with the fight stuff. I think it was the writer of the episode was one of the John Wick creators.
That's why they were in a nightclub.
John Wick 4 takes place in Madripoor.
Yeah. Like Sam never pops his wings once. The entire episode. And I think that's going to start becoming our gauge of how much we're going to see special effects wise is how long the episode is.
Yeah, honestly.
Which I think is hilarious. I liked Zemo in this a lot. I thought it was very neat. He also seems like he's being very genuine.
Yeah. I'm not taking my eyes off this motherfucker, though.
No, because they're going to, I mean, that's the thing. Like, he's a bad guy. He's probably just a good actor and lying. But that's okay.
I've been seeing this meme floating around that I think is absolutely hilarious where it's like, why do I trust Baron Zemo more than I trust John Walker? Who, again, Captain America, cop John Walker gets real cop in this episode. For the brief time that we see him, it feels like even Battlestar is getting a little, hey, bud, you might want to stop, please.
Probably just because he knows what the press is going to do. Like, he doesn't actually care about how he's acting,
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably not wrong there. But no, I absolutely agree with you. I was joking about it on Twitter the other day that all you have to do is make a villain even moderately personable and relatable, and the entirety of the internet will excuse any horrible act they ever commit ever.
It's true.
Yeah, it's true. Give Kylo Ren puppy dog eyes. Ben Solo did nothing wrong. Let Zemo be like moderately neoliberal. Make him like adorkable. He's forgiven for murdering a head of state.
I like that wasn't a throwaway line.
Me too.
Because when Sam said it, I was like, that feels like they're just saying it to like, include a reference, right? And when Nakia showed up, I was like, oh, thank God, that wasn't just a throwaway line. Like, Wakanda's after this guy.
Was that Nakia?
I thought so. I could be wrong.
Nakia, I can never remember the Black Panther characters. Nakia is Lupita Nyong'o's character, like T'Challa's love interest.
No, she's the head of the yeah.
Nakia is Lupita Nyong'o's character. Okoye is the leader of the Dora Milaje, and it's not her because this person. It's not. I'm drawing. I can never remember any. I know all the actor names. I can never. And Okoye is the only one whose actor name I can't remember, but I know the character name. It's not Okoye.
Okay.
No, it's another member of the Dora Milaje. Whom I think is named, but I did not catch that. I believe it's the only other member of the Dora Milaje who gets any amount of screen time, but isn't Okoye.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's the one that gets joked around with, in the very beginning, like when they get back to Wakanda in the beginning of Black Panther,
Mm-hmm.
where they're busting his chops. I'm gonna try to. I cannot remember. Like I said, I either know the character's name or I know the
I mean,
actor name, and I can never.
they might
remember
not
both
have
for
even
most of
like
them.
credited who it is in the show because they don't say her name in the show.
I don't see her name in the show. I don't think she was in the credits either.
But yeah, I'm glad that wasn't a throwaway line. I loved the prison break sequence with the like Bucky just being like, okay, now theoretically this could happen. And then like hypothetically, when that's happening, this could happen. And that cascades in the Zemo showing up. I thought that was really clever.
Okay, we do have a name for the Wakandan who shows up. That is Florence Kasumba as Ayo.
Okay.
Yes. But no, I love that. I love that type of like heisty, like we're gonna talk about it in the future tense while it's actually happening shit. Being self-centered dipshit that I am, I couldn't help it. It was like this is the kind of energy I like to think the let me pitch you a hypothetical bit has. That's what I like to think that stupid bit has. I know it's not. That's what I like to think. But no, I absolutely love that. I mean,
you didn't break a international criminal out of prison doing it, so.
Okay, listen. Now might be a bad time to tell you.
Yeah.
But Snowden might be running the board right now. Can you turn me down, Ed? Thank you.
Edward. Ed boy.
I really enjoy just the way that everybody interacts with Zemo.
I love that he knows too. Like he tries to interject and they're like, "You shut your mouth," and he's like, "Fair."
I like that Zemo like knows his place in the situation. I just love the on-site nature with everybody's interactions with him. It's very entertaining. It's probably one of my highlights. Also, just the fight choreography is remarkable here. The little mini fights inside the club are great. Sharon Carter's brawl with the bounty hunters at like the shipping storage area, whatever. That was amazing. That was just such a good fight to watch. I like Zemo's little hero moment where he like felt the need to put on the mask just to fire a rocket launcher and then take it off.
Yeah, I love getting because like at the beginning they're like, yeah, back when Sokovia existed, I was royalty, so I still have all that money, and I am technically a baron.
I'm glad that they found an excuse for him to be addressed as Baron Zemo.
Yeah, but then we get reminded that yeah, this is a baron who was also a trained Black Ops operative. Like,
hold on. You vamp for a second because I hear dogs going crazy and it's about to get loud.
Okay. This is a mistake. This man thought I could really vamp for him controlling the dogs. When he knows we can't hear them in the studio. I mean, we can when I'm there, but they don't come over on the mics. This is Platt. You guys have met Platt. If you're on the audio, come to the video. See Platt. See Platt in my messy room and my Mario lift. And oh, he's back.
Yes, I am back. I don't know what were you saying? What were you saying? So I can
nothing important.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. But no, I really enjoying Zemo. I'm really curious about what was happening there with him. Like in the time between he fires the rocket launcher, looks into the camera to smile, and then shows up in the car.
He sees the car. That's he looks and sees the car and is like, yeah, I get to drive this cool car.
I know. There's just there's time in between him arriving that I'm like a little spooked about. Oh God, I'm stuck to my headphone cord, stuck to the chair wheel, and I literally can't move my leg now. So I'm just gonna try to reposition here. There's just unaccounted time there between him arriving though that I'm just paranoid with Zemo. I'm like, what's he up to? Also, I want to ask you this. Do you think Sharon Carter is the power broker?
Yeah, I think she's the most likely option.
I really hope she isn't. I feel like it feels too obvious, and I've kind of had my fill of sweet Christ. Yeah, this is
whatever you did down there must be impressive.
Well, hope y'all are watching the video version, kids. This is fun. No, I hate the Marvel bait and switch character. Like, I'm not the type to go crazy and, burn down a Disney-owned building over the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. But can we not do that anymore? And granted, this is a whole lot of Iron Man, but Whiplash isn't Whiplash. He's Whiplash and also Crimson Dynamo and also Titanium Man. That kind of thing. I would like for the power broker to be its own thing and it not end up being Sharon. I feel like the way it's telegraphed, it isn't. Because that feels like too obvious of a hey, come look over here, come look over here. Oh, no, we lied to you. You've been hopscotched.
At the very least, she's working with him, though.
I think she knows something that she's not allowing the rest of the team to know, which I'm cool with. I just do not want her to be the power broker.
My only clue on that, though, is that she's billed alongside Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan as a headliner of the show, and she only just showed up in episode 3, which means that she's got to be hella important later.
Yeah, I also like the idea that maybe she's as highly billed because she's the most prominent returning character who isn't a villain. And Catherine Hahn has relatively low billing despite how dominant of a force she is in WandaVision. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some you're the villain, therefore you're lower down, and you're Agent 13, and therefore a character whom we know the audience will be happy to see return.
If they remember who they are.
Yeah, which I feel like most people at this point, either via Disney Plus rewatch that Marvel Legacy shit and just the mostly hardcore fan base probably for MCU TV is probably going in with a cursory knowledge. And even then they do enough to jog the audience's memory of, hey, remember that time I stole everybody's equipment for the airport fight? and then disappeared from the movie.
There's enough there to know where to go back to look, but also she hasn't been on screen in 5 years.
Good point.
So,
Yeah, I also wasn't aware of this until the other day, but allegedly there is an entire subplot of the show that was, as best as they could, removed because of COVID, because it was a little too real. And there are some moments in the show where there's very clearly some weird ADR going on. One of the scenes happens when they're interrogating the scientist in Madripoor. There's another scene where like it's edited really weird and you never see anybody's face while they're speaking when they're in Sharon's apartment for a moment.
And I think we mentioned this last week too, that there were a couple scenes where that happened.
Yeah. You did notice some weird like off-screen talking. And there's also like the kind of random, Bucky going, there's vaccines in here moment. That like, yeah, rumor has it there was a plot line that was cut because it was a little too close to home with everything going on. Which would make sense. I also would not be surprised if the back chunk of episodes does not get affected by this because of how often they get because just like the Batman, they were open and closed and open and closed and open and closed for shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not be surprised if it was a subplot they cut while they were filming and just have to like dance around it in like the front half of the show.
Maybe. Do you think so? That sounds to me like it's probably the Flag Smashers wanted to release like a bio agent or something, or like wanted to start a plague.
I would say something like that probably, or they're like blaming the Global Repatriation Act for spreading something intentionally or unintentionally, like a plague blanket type thing.
Maybe.
But that would be my guess. Do you think there's a chance of like Bucky getting his head fucked with, like for real? Because we see him kind of tell Zemo to piss off while he's trying to do the, longing, rusted, homecoming, freight car, blah, blah, blah. And it seems like Bucky isn't affected by it.
Because he's not.
Because he's not. Do you think there's a chance he goes full Winter Soldier here? Because I feel like they were teeing that up in this episode.
No, maybe if he like starts to have a flashback, like not in show, like a PTSD flashback, and like he resorts back to what he knows, and we kind of saw that, but I think he's fine.
I'm curious because I'm not sure what to expect on that front. Also, I love the sound design and sound editing and music of this show so much. That score, like the Winter Soldier theme and that like motif with like the which, Henry Jackman, composer for Winter Soldier and Civil War, created that by screaming in the studio and then altering it to sound as mechanical as possible, trying to have it be, like the mechanical scream inside of Bucky's head. Whenever he walks into the room with Zemo and Zemo starts trying to like recite the activation code, we have like a really, really faint version of the scream come through that's almost immediately killed by Bucky saying, "I'm not that guy anymore," or whatever he says. But I also like the way that during the bar fight in Madripoor, like it kind of slowly crescendos into it just being the straight up screaming. I love that motif every time Bucky's on screen and how they introduce it. Like in the earlier episodes, there's a scene where like he's having like a flashback with the Nakajima thing. And like you hear a faint version of it and he like closes his eyes really tight and it slowly fades out. They've just been so good with how they utilize that screaming Winter Soldier theme. And it's one of my favorite parts of the whole show. I love little motific stuff like that. I also love the way that it feels like Zemo is slowly taking stock of how far he can go with any of them.
Yeah.
Like, because he opens with like, oh, by the way, who's Nakajima? And then almost gets choked to death. And goes, okay, well, I can't say that. And then like, and then he like not long after that goes for a similar dig but less intensity at Sam. He's like, you wouldn't understand what it's like to be locked up. Oh wait, never mind. So like, I feel like he's trying to figure out like what his most effective way to try to turn them, into his puppets again is. And I really like that for Zemo. I really like that as a moment and like a character beat for him, that he's like, slowly nickel and diming his way into trying to be in complete control of the situation again. Other than that, Travis, any final thoughts on this week's episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I don't think we knew before this episode that the Flag Smashers were all from place.
Sokovia?
No. Matropor.
Oh, did they say they're all from Madripoor? I didn't catch that.
I assumed because the two of them talk about being kids there. I think.
I didn't catch that. I did not hear that or catch that. I did. Good. Fine. I missed that completely.
It's when they're talking outside whatever refugee camp they're helping. And they're like, did you ever think we'd be here? I thought I'd be a teacher. And I ended up in Matropor or whatever. So maybe like, I guess they ended up in Matropor, but like.
Yeah. At the very least, it's where they kind of established themselves.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't catch that. Good find. I wonder how that shapes up in the long run. Also, sorry. What were you saying?
It makes sense that they would be there to steal the serum, right? But like, it felt like they were saying like they had been working out of Matropor for a while.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how that's going to shape up. I also like now that we have a version of the serum that exists that doesn't bulk you up.
Yeah.
Right? Because in show, that means that like they have now the shock value of, oh, and this person's a super soldier. In real life, it means that people don't have to go on intense steroid cycles to get, Chris Evans sized.
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly. Yeah, I thought exactly the same thing. There's a little.
This is just going to be way easier on everyone involved.
Precisely. Also, very much looking forward to seeing how the AO plot line shapes up. Like you said, I'm glad the Wakandans won him. Ended up mattering, and I'm curious if how that shapes up, and see if somebody gets double crossed in some way, shape, or
Jarod,
form.
wake up.
I'm curious to see if somebody gets double crossed in some way, shape, or form, be it the Wakandans or Zemo. But yeah, very exciting stuff. Very much enjoying the show and looking forward to these final 3 episodes. With that, Travis, where can the lovely people find you, my friend?
They can find me going back to sleep before I have to go to work. And on Twitter and Instagram at Travis Political, and on Twitch, streaming every Wednesday at roughly 8 p.m. Black Leader 439. Jarod.
Yes.
Where?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552. You can also find me on Twitch watching Travis's channel. Go subscribe, you bastards. You guys can also find the Nerd Academy podcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon page. Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Case and Brian, the Waffle Wizard, Delta 9, and Zach Knaus. You guys help us make the content that we love to produce. Speaking of our Patreon as well, check out the $5 tier. We get access to all of our exclusive shows, the Knights of the Nerd Republic Versus series, Heroic History 101, and the audio commentary tie-ins for Nerd Academy Movie Club. check all of that out. That is at the $5 tier. Be sure to check out the student store link on our website. That'll take you to our TeePublic, where you can get all manner of Nerd Academy merch and goodies. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Do all the things. Greatly appreciated if you do. And with that, class dismissed.